Welcome to my channel. I've got a question for you. Do you know the one thing that can boost your English skills faster than anything else? No, it's not magic or a secret formula. It's reading. But wait, here's the real question. Why should you make reading a daily habit? Stick around because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how reading every day can supercharge your English learning. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Let's dive right in. Chapter 1. The Power of Reading for English Learners. Many English learners, especially beginners, often ask, "Why do I need to read in English? I already watch movies, attend classes, and do my homework." Well, here's the secret. Reading is the most powerful tool you can use to improve your English. But why? The answer is simple. When you read, you encounter words and structures in context. You're constantly exposed to new vocabulary, grammar rules, and expressions. And here's something you might not know. Reading is more important now than ever. Let's break it down. In today's world, the ability to read and write well is more important than ever before. Whether you're in school, at work, or even just navigating daily life, reading is a key skill that you cannot afford to overlook. The world is changing, and the need for literacy is growing. You see, in 2006, only about 1 in 100 people went to university. Fast forward to today, and that number has increased to 7 in 100. As more people are obtaining higher education, the demand for skills like reading and writing has skyrocketed. It doesn't matter if you're an office worker, a teacher, or even a mechanic. The reality is that jobs today require more reading and writing than ever before. The more you read, the better you'll perform in any role. But it's not just about jobs, it's about building your English proficiency. Reading offers one of the best ways to improve your speaking, writing, vocabulary, and grammar. Yes, you heard that right. It's more effective than memorizing grammar rules or relying on exercises. Here's the key. When you read, you see how the language works naturally. You see how sentences are formed, how words are used, and how different expressions come together. This helps you absorb grammar and vocabulary in a way that feels natural and intuitive. Think about it. When you're watching a movie, you hear English spoken, but you don't always see the structure of the language. You don't always catch those small grammar rules or new vocabulary words that pop up on the screen. On the other hand, when you read, you have the time to stop, reflect, and really focus on the language. You see those new words, you understand them in context, and you learn how they're used in different situations. Now let's take it even further. You might be thinking, but I can watch movies and listen to podcasts in English, so why is reading so important? Well, reading allows you to encounter a wider range of vocabulary than movies or podcasts typically offer. When you read, you're not just hearing the same words over and over. You're constantly exposed to new terms, phrases, and idioms that are essential for fluency. Plus, you get to see words spelled out correctly, which helps with pronunciation and spelling. Reading also helps you improve your listening skills. It's true. When you read and learn new words, you start recognizing them when you hear them in conversations. Your brain starts connecting the written form with the spoken form. It's like building a bridge between your reading and listening skills, making both stronger and more effective. Now, here's something that might surprise you. Reading is actually better at improving your grammar and writing skills than traditional grammar exercises. Why? Because when you read, you internalize how grammar works naturally. You start to recognize sentence structures and grammatical patterns without even trying. It's like learning a new language through immersion. The more you read, the more you pick up, and before you know it, you're writing and speaking with greater confidence and accuracy. So why should you make reading a part of your daily routine? Because it's one of the best ways to develop fluency, increase your vocabulary, and improve your grammar. But remember, it's not just about reading anything. It's about reading material that challenges you, keeps you engaged, and makes learning enjoyable. Stay tuned, because in the next chapter, I'll show you exactly how to start reading in English and make it an enjoyable, productive habit that will take your language skills to the next level. Chapter 2. Learning through pleasure. Reading for fun. Now you might be thinking, that sounds great, but I don't have time to read books all day. Plus, English books are boring and too hard. I understand that reading might feel overwhelming at first. But let me tell you something very important. You don't have to read boring textbooks or difficult novels. Instead, focus on reading things you enjoy. The key is to find material that's fun and easy for you. One of the biggest mistakes many learners make is trying to read material that's too difficult. If you're constantly reaching for a dictionary, it's not enjoyable, and you'll eventually give up. But when you read something that you want to read, like a comic book, a detective novel, or even a fairy tale, you'll find yourself absorbed in the story. And, without realizing it, you'll learn English along the way. Think about it. When was the last time you truly enjoyed reading something? It could be a funny Instagram post, a YouTube comment thread, or even a quick blog post. The material doesn't have to be a giant novel or textbook to improve your English. The magic happens when you read something that excites you or sparks your interest. When you're having fun, you're more likely to keep reading, and the more you read, the better your English will become. An experiment from the 1960s proves this point. Boys in a reform school were given books to read. Fun books, like James Bond novels. They weren't forced to read. They just had the choice to pick up a book whenever they wanted. The result? The boys who read the books improved their reading and writing skills, while those who didn't read didn't improve at all. This is the power of reading for pleasure. Reading for fun doesn't just improve your vocabulary and grammar, it also makes you more comfortable with English. The more you read, the more you start to recognize common phrases, expressions, and even the rhythm of the language. You'll start to feel more confident in your ability to understand English, whether you're speaking or listening. Plus, reading things you enjoy will help you stay motivated to keep going, even on days when learning feels tough. But how do you make reading fun? Here are a few ideas. Start with short, easy reads like comic books, online articles, or even children's books. These materials are designed to be engaging and use simple language that you can easily understand. Read things that interest you. If you love sports, try reading sports magazines or news articles. If you're into gaming, check out gaming blogs or game reviews. The more relevant the material is to your life, the more you'll want to read. Try audiobooks or podcasts. If you're not a fan of reading on paper, you can listen to books or podcasts in English. This allows you to immerse yourself in the language while still enjoying a good story or learning something new. Read online. Platforms like Instagram, Twitter, or Reddit provide a constant stream of content in English. You can learn a lot just by reading posts, comments, and discussions. It's informal, and it's a great way to pick up slang and real-world language that you wouldn't get in a textbook. The best part is, reading for pleasure doesn't feel like studying at all. You're simply having fun, and at the same time, you're improving your language skills. It's a win-win situation. So, the next time you pick up a book or scroll through an article, remember that learning doesn't have to be hard work. Find something you love and let the magic of reading in English make you a better speaker, writer, and listener, without even realizing it. In the next chapter, I'll share some practical strategies for incorporating reading into your daily routine. Trust me, it's easier than you think. Chapter 3. Reading over time. The long-term benefits. So now you're probably thinking, okay, so reading is fun and all, but does it really make a difference in the long run? Absolutely. If you read regularly, your progress will be noticeable. It's not about reading for hours at a time, it's about reading every day, even if it's just for 10 or 20 minutes. Just like how practicing English speaking or listening helps, reading every day will slowly build your skills without you even realizing it. Let me explain how this works. When you read, you expose yourself to language you wouldn't normally hear in a classroom or movie. You see new words, phrases, and expressions in context. Over time, you'll start to recognize these words and phrases when you hear them in conversations or see them in writing. The more you read, the more natural your English will sound. Reading regularly helps you develop what's called language intuition. The more you read, the more you start to automatically understand how English works, without having to stop and think about the rules. For example, when you read a lot, you begin to instinctively know how certain phrases sound, how grammar works, and even what words are used together. It's like developing an ear for the language. The beauty of this is that it happens without you having to memorize endless lists of vocabulary or grammar rules. Studies show that the students who read the most perform better in all aspects of language learning. In fact, one study done in the Fiji Islands found that students who read more improved their English skills faster than students who focused only on grammar exercises. In this study, the students who read regularly had higher test scores in reading, writing, and even speaking, because reading exposed them to more vocabulary and grammar than grammar exercises alone. It's all about the compound effect. Small, consistent actions lead to big results over time. If you read just 10 minutes a day, that's over an hour of reading every week. Over the course of a month, that adds up to more than 4 hours of reading. And all of this exposure to English will slowly improve your skills in ways you might not even notice at first. Here's another interesting thing to keep in mind. Reading helps you build fluency in a way that listening and speaking may not. When you read, You can go at your own pace, take the time to look up unfamiliar words, and fully understand what you're reading. This deep level of engagement is crucial for truly mastering a language. And unlike speaking, where you might not always get the chance to reflect and understand every detail, reading allows you to digest information at your own speed. Plus, reading regularly helps expand your cultural understanding. By reading books, articles, and stories from different parts of the world, you not only improve your English, but you also get a deeper insight into how people from various cultures think and communicate. This is essential when you want to speak more naturally and understand the nuances of the language. So, let's talk about the benefits in the long term. Vocabulary expansion. The more you read, the more words you'll encounter. You'll start seeing patterns and using these words naturally in your conversations. Grammar mastery. Through consistent exposure to correct sentence structures, you'll internalize grammar rules without memorizing them. Fluency. As you continue reading, your confidence will increase, and speaking will become much easier. Your language will flow more naturally. Cultural awareness. Reading helps you understand idiomatic expressions, humor, and different ways of thinking, all of which make your English sound more authentic. The key takeaway here is that reading isn't just a short-term fix. It's a long-term investment that pays off the more you make it a part of your daily routine. Even a few minutes a day adds up over time, and the results will speak for themselves. In the next chapter, I'll share some simple strategies to help you incorporate reading into your everyday life, so you can make it a habit that will benefit you in the long run. Chapter 4. The Science of Learning. How reading helps your brain. Now, you might be wondering, how does this work in my brain? Why does reading improve my English so much? Well, reading isn't just about memorizing vocabulary. When you read, your brain is making connections. You're not just remembering words, you're seeing how they're used in different contexts, and that's what makes the words stick. Think of it like this. When you try to memorize grammar rules or vocabulary lists, it's easy to forget them after a while. But when you read, you see words in action, in real-life situations. Your brain absorbs the language naturally, without you even trying. This is a big part of why reading is such a powerful learning tool. Let me give you an example. When you read a novel, even a simple one, you start to recognize sentence structures, word patterns, and the different ways people express ideas. You begin to notice how sentences flow and how certain words are used together in natural ways. This is why reading can be more effective than other methods. It teaches you English the way native speakers naturally use it. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you read, your brain works hard to create new neural pathways. This means your brain is literally rewiring itself to process language more effectively. Every time you encounter a new word or phrase, your brain makes a new connection. Over time, as you read more, these connections become stronger, and your brain gets better at processing English. In fact, studies show that reading activates different parts of the brain compared to other forms of language learning. It engages areas of the brain involved in memory, problem solving, and even emotional response. This means that reading doesn't just help you learn words, it helps you understand the deeper meaning behind them and how they connect to the world around you. When you're reading, you're constantly practicing language in context. For example, if you read a dialogue in a book, you're not just learning how to use the words want or eat. You're learning how these words work in conversation, how they relate to emotions, and how they fit into specific situations. It's this deeper, contextual learning that makes reading such an effective way to improve your language skills. Also, reading helps build your brain's working memory. This is the system that holds and processes information you're actively using. When you read, you have to remember characters, settings, plot lines, and vocabulary, all of which exercise your working memory. As you continue to read, you'll notice that your ability to remember and use new information will improve, not just in English, but in other areas of your life as well. Here's something else to consider. Reading improves your comprehension skills. The more you read, the better you get at understanding and making sense of the material, even when it's challenging. Your brain becomes faster at recognizing patterns and meaning, which means you'll have an easier time understanding spoken or written English, whether it's from a movie, a conversation, or an article. This process is called incidental learning, which simply means you're learning things without even trying. You're picking up vocabulary, understanding grammar, and improving your language skills, all while reading something you enjoy. The beauty of this is that it feels effortless, even though your brain is working hard to make all these connections. Let me break it down into some key points. Neural pathways. Every time you read, your brain builds new connections, making it easier to process and understand English. Contextual learning. Reading shows you how words are used naturally, helping you understand the language in real-life situations. Improved working memory. Reading strengthens your ability to remember and use language effectively. Faster comprehension. Over time, your brain becomes quicker at understanding both written and spoken English. Incidental learning. You learn language without even trying, just by engaging with the material that interests you. So, when you read, you're not just learning vocabulary or grammar. You're training your brain to think in English, making your learning process more effective and enjoyable. The more you read, the more your brain adapts to English, and before you know it, you'll be using the language naturally, just like a native speaker. In the next chapter, I'll share some tips and strategies for making reading a daily habit, so you can take full advantage of these brain benefits. Stay tuned. Chapter 5. The Experiment. How I learned a language by reading still not convinced. Let me tell you about an experiment I did myself. A few years ago, I decided to learn Spanish, but instead of taking endless grammar classes, I decided to try something different. I would read 1,000,000 words in Spanish. That's about 20 novels. It seemed like a huge challenge, but I took it step by step, one page at a time. At first, I read easy material, like simple books and transcripts. These were books with basic vocabulary and grammar, perfect for a beginner. But after a while, I realized I was understanding more than I thought. The words started to make sense, and I was able to recognize patterns in sentence structures and vocabulary. So, I gradually moved up to more complex books. Next, I started reading books I was already familiar with in English, like Harry Potter. The benefit of this was that I already knew the storyline and characters, so I didn't have to focus so much on the meaning of every single word. I could focus more on how the language was used, and my brain started to make connections between the Spanish and English versions of the text. This made learning new words and phrases easier because I already had context. Eventually, I felt ready to tackle new books I hadn't read in English before. I dove into works by Latin American authors like Isabel Allende and Jorge Luis Borges. These books were more challenging, but because I had already built up my vocabulary and reading skills, I could understand much of what I was reading. If I didn't understand a word, I didn't panic. I just kept going, and often the meaning would become clear as I continued to read. By the time I finished reading my 1,000,000 words, my Spanish was at an intermediate level. I could understand almost everything I read, and I could have conversations with native speakers. The best part? I didn't focus on memorizing grammar rules or cramming vocabulary into my head. I didn't even worry about perfecting my accent or speaking fluently right away. All I did was read and let my brain pick up the rest. Here's the amazing thing. I didn't spend hours every day on this. Some days I only read for 15 minutes, but over time, that consistent practice built up. It didn't feel like a chore. It felt like a fun way to learn. Every book, every chapter, brought new words and phrases that my brain absorbed naturally. So, the moral of the story is, you don't need to rely on memorization or intense grammar drills to learn a language. If you read consistently, in a way that feels enjoyable and natural to you, your brain will do the rest. You'll pick up vocabulary, grammar, and sentence structures without even realizing it. Now, I'm not saying that reading alone will make you fluent in a language overnight, but it will give you the foundation you need to understand and communicate with others. It's the most natural, enjoyable, and long-term way to improve your language skills. In the next chapter, I'll share some practical tips for how to start your own reading journey. Whether you're a beginner or at a more advanced level, there's always a way to make reading work for you. Stay tuned for more. Chapter 6. The Right Way to Read. Choose books you love. Here's the final tip I want to leave you with. If you want to improve your English, choose books you love. You don't have to read difficult books or useful books that everyone tells you are important. The secret is to read what you genuinely enjoy. If you love comics, read comics. If you enjoy detective stories, dive into those. If science fiction or fantasy sparks your imagination, go for it. The key is to find something that excites you, something that will keep you coming back for more. When you're truly interested in what you're reading, you'll stick with it longer and learn more along the way. Think about it. When you're enjoying yourself, learning feels less like a task and more like a natural part of the experience. That enthusiasm and motivation will keep you reading, and the more you read, the better you'll get at understanding and using English. Remember what Stephen Krashen, a well-known language expert, says, Only read material that is fun and easy for you. If you're constantly struggling to understand every word, then the material might be too difficult. Aim to read books that you can understand at least 98% of. If you don't understand 98%, it might be time to find something easier. And here's the cool part. The more you read, the easier it gets. When you're reading something that's enjoyable and easy enough to follow, the vocabulary and grammar naturally stick in your mind. Over time, your reading skills will improve, and you'll begin to notice the difference in your speaking and writing as well. The goal isn't to challenge yourself with difficult books. It's to keep reading every day, slowly building up your skills. Whether it's a light comic book, a thrilling mystery, or a heartwarming romance, choose what you enjoy. So the next time you pick up a book, ask yourself, does this excite me? Am I looking forward to reading it? If the answer is yes, then you're on the right track. Keep reading what you love, and you'll keep improving your English. In the next chapter, I'll share some practical strategies to help you incorporate reading into your daily routine, because consistency is the key to success. Stay tuned. All right, if you've learned something new today, then it's time to put it into action. Start reading something you love today. Remember, it doesn't matter if it's easy or even a little childish. What matters is that it's fun and helps you learn. Whether it's a comic, a detective story, or a fantasy novel, just pick something that excites you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more tips on learning English. And if you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Happy reading, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep learning and stay motivated. Starbook.